Towards the very end of the very last book of The Witcher takes place perhaps one of my favorite scenes in all of fantasy. It is the scene that solidified, for me at least, The Witcher as a piece of fiction that was uniquely human, and with nothing but a short and perhaps even forgetful interaction between Yennefer and Geralt, Andrzej Sapkowski has managed to capture the very essence of his world in just a third of the page. Before we get to it, however, allow me to set the stage. The Witcher is no stranger to complex situations and moral dilemmas. In fact, the grey color that paints the entirety of the work is one of its defining characteristics. Our protagonists are very real. Geralt is impatient and snarky. He hates the world and the world hates him back. He has nothing to live for except to survive the next day. Deep down though, all he yearns for is acceptance and love. Yennefer is cold, she's calculated, she's powerful. She has everything, and yet she has nothing. She has nothing because despite her status and privileges, the one thing that she truly desires above all else, motherhood, is the one thing she can never have. In her quest to be a mother, she nonetheless risks everything. Herself, and even more selfishly, she risks others too. Although she has the capacity for good intentions, she's not a good person. She's just a person, troubled from the past and burning with a desire she can never quench unless she surrenders her dream. Geralt falls in love with her regardless, perhaps even because of their common lack of love and understanding. He knows about her past and how she used to look. He certainly knows she willingly put everyone at risk in her chase for the djinn, and he also knows that she used him. He does not care. He is madly in love. He can't explain it, and although he could have everything he's ever wanted, he surrenders his last wish to her. He saves her life and binds their fates, the only way to protect her from the vengeful djinn. The two of them get together, but they're still broken. They're in love, the most love they've ever been in. They are each other's only thing that has given them any happiness for a long time in this wretched life, and they have found meaning in each other. Yet meaning is commitment. They are afraid to commit. They lash out and they cheat and they lie, and they do horrible things to each other, and then they make up. Perhaps this is toxic, but for them it's love. It's the most real feeling they've felt in such a long time. Eventually, in this relationship dynamic is brought a gift, a force that unites them forever and that changes everything. Ciri. Geralt, though he never in a million years thought he would become a father, and Yennefer on the verge of giving up to become a mother, they both find Ciri. These characters are the furthest thing away from being good parents, and perhaps even good people. And now suddenly they have to watch over a little girl that has lost everything she's ever had? They're horrible at it. If Geralt didn't have Triss at Kaer Morhen when Ciri was going through the changes that she was, the girl would be doomed. And Yennefer has so much baggage on her shoulders. Parents who mistreated her and gave her away. Herself having to use her womanhood to her advantage at every turn in a world as broken as hers. And now, expected to be the mother of a little girl? What did she truly know of motherhood anyway? Geralt and Yennefer would cheat, and they would argue, and they would separate again and again, but what united them always, without fail, was their love and responsibility towards Ciri, and, in the end, the love that they held for each other, despite their faults. You see, the story of The Witcher is not a story of fairy tales and good versus evil. It is a story, ironically if you've read the short stories, of lesser evils, of human choices. As the books progress, our protagonists are separated completely, almost until the very end of the series. Their relationships are tested, and many times they fall and they regress. Character development is either seemingly lost or turned for the worse. Ciri is terrorized and becomes a killer. Yennefer plays a complex game and is punished for it, and Geralt grows more and more detached as certain events unfold, and he is distraught without Ciri and Yennefer, and, at an even worse case, he was led to believe that Yennefer had become an accomplice of Vilgefortz, with the Witcher vowing to kill his beloved. By the Lady of the Lake, Geralt's search for Ciri was on. The Lodge of Sorceresses want to use the girl for their political agenda. Knowing that Geralt would be a difficult obstacle to overcome, they dispatched Fringilla Vigo to seduce Geralt, get as much information as possible about Vilgefortz's location, and delay the Witcher from his search for Ciri, while in the meantime the Lodge got closer and closer to finding the girl. Thus, in the Duchy of Toussaint, the Nilfgaardian sorceress meets with Geralt and commences her plans. Fringilla, with her very similar to Yennefer personality and physical characteristics, and taking advantage of Geralt's troubled state, is successful in seducing the Witcher. The two develop a fling of sorts, and Fringilla perhaps even some feelings for the White Wolf despite the nature of her mission. Ultimately, however, as Geralt was with Fringilla physically, his heart and mind was with Yennefer, sometimes even calling out Yen's name while in bed with the Nilfgaardian. Nonetheless, the Witcher must have developed some feelings for Fringilla, perhaps even love, as they were together for months. Geralt's persistence to Yennefer, however, as well as certain indications from the text, paint a clearer picture. A picture of two people that satisfied certain needs and grew to care, though for Geralt at least, his attention remained forever fixed to Yennefer and Ciri. We told each other many things. We told each other very trivial truths. We told each other very beautiful lies. But those lies, although they were lies, weren't calculated to deceive. After a few months, Geralt finally left Fringilla. He tried to leave with a letter and no real goodbyes, but Fringilla caught him. In their conversation, Fringilla revealed how much she truly cared for him, and despite, or even because of this, he reveals to Geralt that Yennefer had never allied herself with Vilgefortz, and that everything she had ever done was to protect Ciri and not to betray them after all. Now knowing the truth about his Yennefer, the Witcher said, "Thank you, Fringilla. Now go. I trust you," he said, without moving, "and I shall never forget what was between us. I trust you, Fringilla. I won't stay with you, but I think I loved you too in my own way. Please keep utterly secret what you're about to find out. Vilgefortz's hideout is in..." "Wait," she interrupted. "You'll tell me later. You'll disclose it later. Now, before you leave, say goodbye to me, the way you ought to say goodbye." Therein, we have Sapkowski's famous complexity. Fringilla as an agent of the antagonistic lodge, seducing Geralt, but eventually developing feelings and sacrificing her mission for him, is not something of any real uniqueness on a literary level, just a quote-unquote antagonist experiencing relatively common character development. What is more unique to The Witcher, however, is how Geralt, who succumbed to his sexual desires with Fringilla and slept with her, never stopped thinking about and loving Yennefer, who he wanted to kill because he was under the impression she had betrayed Ciri. And all of this while he was simultaneously also developing some feelings for Fringilla that were also very real, even though not as strong as Yennefer's. A man who loved someone he had grown to hate due to a suspected betrayal, starting to be in love with another woman mostly because he reminded him of his true love, whom he missed so much despite his hate. This naturally is toxic and not a good situation to be in. Nonetheless, it is a situation that is deeply real and human, something whose complexity is not as commonly found in most fantasy tales. This added layer of flawed humanity to Geralt's already very human and flawed relationship with Yennefer culminates when the two finally meet again towards the end of the book. They saved Ciri, they made up, they got together again, and they made love. Things were looking up, and yet the past few months and years are still there for each of them, regardless of the fact that they didn't yet know each other's secrets. Yennefer, who was being tortured by Vilgefortz while Geralt was sleeping with Fringilla in Toussaint, asks this of the Witcher. "Geralt, yes, Yen. When we weren't together, did you go with any other women?" "No. Not once. Not once. Your voice didn't even waver, so I don't know why I don't believe you. I only ever thought about you, Yen. Now I believe you." And there you have it. Yennefer asks a question Geralt is too afraid to answer. Not necessarily because of the consequences on his relationship of doing so, but because of his guilt. The guilt he feels because of the only one of his statements that Yennefer believes. "I only ever thought about you, Yen." He did only think about her because she was and is his everything. Nonetheless, his emotions and passions, his lust and anger got the better of him, and he did go with another woman. And it is the very fact that he genuinely only ever truly loved and thought about Yennefer that makes him lie to her face when she asks him if he was unfaithful. Unfaithful not in a literal sense, as they were not together at the time, but emotionally. This is how multi-layered these few sentences are. There is broken trust, there is lying and deception, but there is also guilt and redemption brought about by love. Yennefer is no idiot. She believed him because she knows the truth of his love and forgives him, making the sacrifice of giving in to the only one of his statements that truly mattered to her, the only one of the two that was the truth. And Geralt, knowing his yen, must know this as well. After all of their struggles and their development, they're still broken, and yet they're trying to be better for and to each other. Guilt, after all, and the wish to redeem yourself and be better remains a step on this large staircase, a very human journey. For Geralt and for Yennefer, this journey led to the streets of Rivia, in which our beloved but flawed witcher is stabbed and slowly bleeds out, while the love of his life does everything to save him, draining herself and falling dead beside him. Because, despite everything, they were there for each other, always. And to continue trying, despite everything, was a choice, a very human choice they chose to make, for better or for worse, and without knowing if there would be a happy ending to their story. A massive thank you to my channel members, and thank you very much for watching.